How's it going, guys? So we repaired our planter in our tractor, washed a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can top off my rest of my seed here. So we have most of our fields planted. We have field 1 and 2, 11, and then, what do you call this, 30, 34. We have a couple more lands, farmland areas mapped in here. But we need to plant our last fields, which is going to be this large field here, field 12. Just topping off our planter before we start here. Alright, so this guy looks pretty full. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to run down to the southwest part of this field and just start. GPS isn't out, so we're going to have to do this massive field freehand. Wish me luck. It's going to be to beans, so... Morning, Jordan. So I adjusted some of the houses over here so they're not floating anymore. Added some trees and such. So I figured we'd start down here, work this headland a little bit, and then we can get into some longer rows. Maybe next year we can buy these fields. Yeah, I've been really missing the GPS. It's more enjoyable with it because you don't have to pay as close attention to what you're doing. And you can just, you know, enjoy the equipment doing its thing. Where when you're trying to operate these ridge markers, you really have to pay attention the whole time. And it's not as nice of a job when you're finished either, so. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a couple headlands here, and then I'll go to the pivot point area, and then I'll drop both of my ridge markers and just kind of make a line down the middle and call that good. We can do one side and then do the other side. Yeah, I imagine in real life working with ridge markers is a lot easier than it is in game, but in game it's so hard to see, and you can't turn fast enough. I forget how long it took us to harvest this field with Courseplay, with our bean header. I think it was close to like 9 or 10 hours or something like that to have Courseplay even harvest this field. When I left 17, I was in the middle of selling all of our corn and our beans to the ethanol plant. It's kind of where we left off. Once we get away from the trees here, it'll be a little bit easier, I think. So, I have, I don't work Monday, so I have the day off, but I have some errands to run today. Then I have my office Christmas party really not looking forward to that. I'd rather just stay home and not do anything, because then you gotta travel into the city and you gotta dick around with parking and you gotta work the next day, so you can't really drink or like. Who does a Christmas party on Monday night? Like, what are you thinking? This might be the world record in farm sim for freehand planting field. I believe it's 285 acres. Without the aid of Follow Me or GPS. Call me crazy, but I'm pretty sure this is a record. This is a pretty easy field to plant, it just takes forever. I think if I had a steering wheel, it would be more enjoyable, but I don't know, it's not too bad. When you have big implements, doing the freehand isn't nearly as bad as doing it with a smaller implement, like a 3 meter or a 4 meter size working with. Like that's impossible, but when you get the little bit larger working with like this, you know, the freehand's a little bit easier because your mistakes aren't as noticeable. Yeah, patience, but I mean, this game's all is about patience, isn't it? I mean, it's pretty chill, pretty slow. You know, everything, all of your field work takes a little while to do, unless you cheat. You know, there's a lot of people out there that cheat, and I don't know. The downside with GPS is you don't have to pay attention, so you kind of, you know, do other things instead of being actively involved in the game. So even though you're playing, you're really not playing. I think we were using that Horsch Maestro planter when we did this field last, and it took a long time. This is, I think this is twice the size. Is that Horsch planter? So. The other side, the north side of this field, is where it gets a little sketchy because we have to deal with that pivot irrigation. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pick a line here. You know what? I don't think there's a way to drop both ridge markers. Yeah, you can only... I was gonna drop both ridge markers at the same time, but looks like I can't do that. So unfortunately I don't really know the best way to start off, so I'll probably just go along this border here and figure it out. Only issue is I don't think this is perfectly straight. So I'm not sure why there's cotton along the edge here. It's just kind of a glitch when converting the map. Had some random crops sticking out where they really shouldn't. Oh yeah, see, this isn't even straight, so I'm gonna have to... This is where GPS comes in hand. Is there a mod that allows for 20 and 18-inch rows? No. The crop spacing is from the XML in the map. So the only way to get a different crop spacing is to change the number blocks in the map. So if you had a mod that would swap out crop XMLs, maybe. I can't even tell where my ridge marker is. Yeah, I had a 568 baler. I really enjoyed using that, but I don't really have any use for it now, or yet. Maybe I'll start getting into animals. This field is huge. I don't know what you mean by 3 to 4 hours. It took 9 hours just to harvest it with the draper. It's 280, say 290 acres. I'm not sure how many acres I'm covering an hour. I'm going 9 miles an hour. The 24 row planter. I don't know, maybe covering 30. I don't know what the math comes out to on how many acres I'm covering, but probably take a good 6 hours or so. Probably more. You're planting wheat right now, huh? It's pretty late for that, is it? No, maybe? Winter wheat? I have to come back and touch up this last little sliver here. I think all that information there, American Farmers, in the description to the video. The soil up where this map is northwest Wisconsin, so it's all heavy, rich black soil. Doesn't dry out very well. That's why everyone up here chisel plows to open up that soil so it can dry out quicker in the spring. So you can see how this planter slides. So it makes turning really difficult. Pretty decent hill here. Yeah, if it rains up here, you're pretty much SOL for, probably a day. If it's windy, you got a good shot. If it's sunny and windy, you got a pretty good shot. But if there's no wind, you're probably not going to be doing a whole lot. So we'll probably do this section to the right of the irrigation unit, or to the west, whatever. Kind of nice to see no more floating houses over here. deer? I don't know about that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they had something kind of irrelevant like that to the game. They added basketball. So this is really weird. My ridge marker is the same texture as my field. Oh, there we go. Now it's a plow. I thought it was supposed to be like a plowed texture terrain, but now it looks like it's working. There was a moose. It's like a picture of a black moose shadow. What was that, 15? That was on a spline. Deer forage harvester. You know, I was really surprised there wasn't a deer forage harvester, because that's such a huge thing over in Europe, is forage harvesters in general. They chop everything. And John Deere and Kloss, I think, are kind of the big ones. I would have bet money that was going to be in the game, but good thing I didn't. But you never know. You never know what kind of DLCs they'll come out with. In 13, they came out with that titanium add-on, which is a bunch of case equipment. And they've had a couple Coon, Rattle Mash. I mean, they've had kind of brand-inspired DLCs, and then the Big Bud DLC was just kind of a random conglomerate, a mosaic of a bunch of different things. So you really never know what's going to come out. Is it going to be a brand DLC? Is it going to be just a random big equipment, small equipment? You never know. I was really hoping by the time I got to this field, GPS would be out. I really didn't want to do this freehand, but oh well. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, give them enough equipment in the main game, and then, you know, double, triple, quadruple your sales with DLCs. You know, it's kind of a no-brainer in terms of making money. Horseplay always struggled with this area. DB120? Yeah, I mean, it would get it done twice as fast, maybe. You'd be refilling it a lot more. I mean, you'd use the same amount of seed, but it'd be going through it a lot faster as you're covering more ground. I'd rather have two 24 rows going at the same time. Alright, now we can focus on some long rows until we get to the irrigation unit, then we can do some headlands. Hard part's done. The total area on a 1x map is it's either 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer or 2.048 kilometer by 2.048 kilometer. Because the standard, I think it's the dimensions they use is 11024, 2048. But I'm pretty sure, because the boundaries on this, my map dimension's 8 kilometer by 8 kilometer. This is 16x, so 4x would be 4 kilometer by 4 kilometers. So the standard size map is 2 kilometer by 2 kilometer, which is a total area of 4 square kilometers. Pretty sure. That it would, Caleb. That it would. Although this tractor pulls pretty straight, I'm not even touching it, it's just keeping its line. Looks pretty good. Starting to get off the mark a little bit there. But with the GPS, I could be looking around, just watching the machinery work and not have to worry about it. Apparently, Courseplay is coming out as well to 19, which is really impressive. How are we doing with this line? This looks pretty good too. Oh, I can already tell we're out for a mark. Shit. Alright, that's a good line. Oh, we didn't miss enough to worry about. It's a pretty steep little hill here we're on. Oh, not too bad. Although I lost my marker line. So it's hard to appreciate how hilly this field is. It's so big and it looks relatively pretty flat, but I mean these are some decent sized hills we're climbing here. The 8370 RT's handling it like a champ though. That's the great thing about the digital elevation mapping is you just put in the numbers and you blend it in to make it all looking smooth, and you really have no idea where any of it ends up until you start mapping in fields and roads. And I have to say that some of these areas are a little bit exaggerated. I remember I was going down this road when I was home a while ago, and where that kind of hobby bee farm is by the railroad tracks up the road here, it was a lot more exaggerated. And same down by the downtown by the gas station and by the Dairy Queen. The way I had the DEM, it was a lot more exaggerated than what it is like in real life. But it was close. I would say the digital elevation map was probably 85-90% there. Probably 10 to 15% exaggerated. Whether that was kind of the way it was converted in Giants editors, who really knows? Because the elevation mapping was in feet, and then they do everything in meters in here, so everything had to get converted to scale to feet. So as you can see, we've barely made a dent in this field. Good times. This farm, they have a couple more fields that they farm in real life that aren't on this map. They're a little too far outside this area, but they crop farm probably close to 1,000 acres, maybe a little bit more. You can see in the little map window what this field looks like in the satellite image that we're using for the PDA. And where we are in relation to this. So we're just getting started. The section on the east side of the irrigation looks like it's actually bigger. So once we reach that irrigation unit, we're still probably have more than half the field to go. They plant this field to corn. This field is usually a cornfield. I mean, they alternate between beans and corn every other year, but when I was there was corn stalks in this field, so. So we're at a little over 1,000 liters of seed. Maybe we'll be able to do another pass. I don't know if we'll be able to go down and back. Should get a good idea. As long as we have over 500, should be able to do another down and back. Everything in this game seems lighter or brighter. Um, it has kind of that foggy hue to it. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try to install the SweetFX shader mod and see if that improves anything. Gives it a little bit richer color. Because right now it kind of feels like a lot of things are kind of grayed out or faded. Sulfured, yeah, I think I've seen pictures of it. I haven't really looked into that much, but I have my deer tillage equipment, so I'm pretty set with tillage. Got my combination disc ripper, the vertical ripper, and our discs, so really don't need much else. So that's a fairly decent hill we just climbed there as well. I don't know. I miss GPS so I can just kind of watch this thing work. That's half the fun, is just watching the equipment. Not actually doing it. Yeah, so we still have a little over 500. I think we should be fine to go back up and, finish up. Should have, plenty to make it down there again. We'll be pretty close to being bone dry, but we'll make it. Actually, maybe we won't. I think we're under 500 by a pretty decent margin, so what I think we'll do is we'll just fill it up. I don't think we can make it. Oh, we still have some decent amount of seed in here, but not enough. So we'll run back to the old dealer. So we're planting our last field, and that's I think that's our only field of beans. All of our other fields are corn. So we just have corn and beans. This was just planted the corn. So this is what I was talking about. This area was a little bit exaggerated in how steep the roads and hills were, but adjusted it so it looks pretty decent. We probably had the same amount of acreage planted corn and bean. Probably have close to 300 acres of each. We only need to plant this one field of beans. It's 285, 290 acres. And I think we probably have about the same planted to corn, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. So we're pretty close to 50-50 on corn and beans, even though we have more fields to corn. I mean, we've covered some decent ground already. It's kind of hard not to cover ground with a 24-row planter at 9 miles an hour. I should probably start dabbling around with some traffic splines. See how that all works. Go ahead and buy a couple more totes of seed here. Should convert over my buckhorn boxes. How many hours do I have on that planter? Well, I'm not sure if it's entirely accurate, but where do I go to here? .9 hours. So 8 hours on the planter. We've done 8 hours of planting so far. It's not too bad. We've gone through a ton of seed here. Probably 50,000 or so plus liters of seed. The issue with these seed tenders in 17 is they never really rotated very well. This seems to handle these rear hitch triaxle things. I don't know, they never handled really well, but this seems to be pretty decent. This thing doesn't like my roads. Ah! Doesn't like going down my roads too fast when it's fully loaded. Bottoms out and then it glitches out. How's it going, Haggard? We are just starting our last field of planting, and that's our biggest field. It's pretty much half of our acreage. Needs plowing, needs lime. Whoops. Feels nice to play this map. Spent like the last week or so trying to fix it since that new patch, that 1.2 patch came out and broke it. Feels nice to just play this map again with no errors, and it loads real fast, and missed it. I think once I'm done planting, and I tried messing around with the mouse control and the scripting on my sprayer boom. Haven't had much luck with that. I might have to do a total rescript on that and how the boom moves up and down. I'm really getting no help whatsoever on the Giants form, because it worked perfectly in 17 and now it doesn't work at all. I mean, it works, it only recognizes the first mouse control node. So that's kind of frustrating. What I might have to do is change the key binding from a sprayer boom to like a front loader, and I don't know. Always something with this game, that's for sure. Things I still have to do to get this map up to, you know, so I can actually play it completely is I need to add a grain cell point and I need to add a farm silo trigger. Once I have those two things, we'll be good to go. You know, I really think things like that, they really shouldn't be placeable or through the items menu. It should be still hardwired into the map like it's always been. You know, like your vehicle sell point, your gas station, your fertilizers, like those should just be like in the map itself, and not need to be imported through the items XML. Because I mean, they're not going anywhere. They're part of the map. The only thing I could see is maybe the farm silo trigger if you're changing farms, but sell points, gas station trigger, like come on. Especially at dedicated gas station static objects. See, these trees, they look really terrible right now. And when you get closer, they get a lot sharper. So I'm gonna have to figure out how I can bump that law texture further back so it doesn't or bring the sharp texture, bump that up. Thomas, we all missed the GPS mod. But we manage without. The show must go on. So it looks like we can do about 10 passes on a tank of seed. We're burning through about 10% per pass. So we can cover some decent ground on a full tank. We should get close to that irrigation unit on 10 passes. Without ridge markers, yeah, that's gonna be a hard pass. Like, although the way they have these textures set up, you can see how it's just a repeating texture. You would be able to manage. I mean, this ridge marker line really isn't helping me all that much. I mean, you can see the lines in the repeated because they repeat such a small texture so frequently that it makes a line. So. Yep, keyboard and mouse. I thought about getting a steering wheel, and I still might, but I definitely like my mouse and all my keypad functions. And I feel like a steering wheel would always be in the way. Who knows? Maybe one day. Yeah, after a while, the old game gets a little boring. You get it burnt out. A new game kind of rejuvenates the interest, and the fact that the map converted so quickly and pretty easily that you don't get pissed off and discouraged. So I'm pretty happy with how everything's going so far. Had a really bad curveball with the new patch, but things were solved. Still have some other issues to take care of, but overall everything's going pretty way ahead of schedule and of what I thought and what has happened in the past. Usually things don't go this smoothly. Anyways, I think I'm gonna call it a day on the stream here. We've been planting for about an hour and 20 minutes. I think that's good enough. So thanks for watching.